You're listening to The Objective Jerk, and I am said jerk. What's going on? Man, I am a little in shock right now, to be honest with you. Let me paint a little picture, I guess. Who here remembers X-Files? You know, that's a great show. I think that's a show where a lot of people developed their conspiracy theory kind of ideas or their interest in it, you know. I wasn't a fanatic, but I watched it quite often. Liked the movies. Anyway, on that show were occasionally on the show, I don't know how many times a year or whatever, there was these characters that were the Lone Gunmen. And they were like conspiracy tech nerds and stuff like that. Now, so I was watching, I don't know what I was watching. I was watching some YouTube channel or the guy's talking about old shows that didn't make it or whatever. And it was talking about the Lone Gunmen. And I was kind of doing something. I was listening, but you know, it's just kind of like, it's just background noise sort of. And then it was like, you know, saying like, well, part of the reason maybe it didn't work is because, you know, 6 months after the show premiered, 9/11 happened, right? And the pilot episode for the Lone Gunmen was a government conspiracy to fly a plane in the World Trade Center to start a war. And I'm like, what? For real? Now, some of you are like, yeah, no shit, dude. I never heard that before. I don't know. Like, I was like, what? You know, I mean, I do like conspiracies and I follow some, but I'm not like a big rabbit hole chaser of them. You know, I do a little bit or I don't know. So people that do probably like this is old news, probably. I don't know. I never heard it. That is crazy. That is crazy. Now I haven't pulled up anything to look at it yet. So I might be kind of going, you know, overreacting really when it's maybe not, I don't know. So I was going to pull up information on the show, the pilot, the plot, and read it and stuff and just kind of talk about it. But if that's what it is, basically, that's insane. That's too I don't know what to think, man. That's crazy. But let's see. I'm going to pull up good old trusty Wikipedia. Excuse me. And just look up the show. Like, this is insane. Lone Gunmen TV series. But that's just too coincidental, man. It probably even talks about it on here. Okay, so similarities. Yeah, so I never heard this before. And I remember the show. I remember the Lone Gunmen on the X-Files, and they were even in the first movie, if I remember right. They had a small part in the first X-Files movie. So I remember wanting to watch this. I just never did. I kept missing it. I don't know. I had just moved to Utah and was just trying to get, you know, established and get a job and everything. And, you know, I don't know. I wasn't really into, you know, I don't know. I used to kind of know TV and I would know stuff that was on and know what days. Oh, today's Wednesday. It's whatever, you know, and I don't know. But by this time I was kind of more into film, I guess, than what was on TV. Maybe that's part of it. But I remember I did want to watch it. I just never did. I kept missing it, forgetting it, whatever. But so I was watching this YouTube channel where guys talks about different shows and stuff from the past, and it was like failed TV shows from 2001. And yeah, so I had this one. I was like, oh yeah, Lone Gunmen, I remember that. And then when it brought this up, I was like, what? Like this, I'm, you know, I don't know. I'm a little behind apparently, but like 20 years behind. But holy shit, like what? There's no way that this is a coincidence. I'll talk about. I guess I don't know, but let's see. So anyway, I already kind of talked about. So I'm going to read this real quick, the similarities, and then I'll go more into the actual episode. I'm kind of wondering if the show was viewed by more people. Okay, I'm getting ahead of it. But anyway, in the pilot episode, which aired March 4th, 6 months to September 11th, rogue members of the U.S. government remotely hijack an airliner flying to Boston, planning to crash into the World Trade Center to let anti-American terrorist group take credit in order to gain public support for a new profitable anti-terrorist war following the Cold War. Like, that's what happened. Like, that's what happened. I mean, maybe not, remote, whatever, this and that, but, I've always said that I believe this was a plot by, terrorists, and the government probably learned of it, and then when, decided to take advantage of it and allowed it to happen. But now I'm kind of thinking, I don't know, man. This is crazy. And I know some of you were like, dude, this is such old news. You're a retard. Yeah, okay. I'll agree. I never heard this. I don't know, maybe I just missed it somewhere. I don't know. But yeah, it never clicked or something. But I never heard of this. And this to me is insane. Like, this is crazy. So yeah, I thought maybe I would just kind of read about it, because I know my listener, he likes it when I, learn about stuff in real time. But so here we go. The pilot episode. It doesn't have like a plot, like a detailed plot. I was kind of hoping it had like like on a movie. I guess maybe shows don't really. Oh, that kind of sucks. Because it talks about. Let's see, Nielsen. Okay, hold on. Nielsen ratings. So at 13 million viewers. See, the debut episode 13. That's a lot of people. Like, that's. Before I talk about what I want to talk about, I want to make sure there isn't like a detailed plot description of it. Flag said jump the shark. Let's see. God, it kind of looks like it doesn't. But this is crazy, dude. I wish I had a little more detailed. While the lone gunmen are thwarted in their attempt to steal a computer chip, Byers receives news of his father's death, and the trio soon find themselves unraveling a government conspiracy concerning an attempt to fly a commercial aircraft into the World Trade Center, which increased arms sales for the United States as an intended result. A little different, but now a lot of people think conspiracy theory is just like a crazy theory, but it just means that there's some sort of plot that is planned and executed by a group of people. Doesn't mean it's a crazy theory or a real theory or whatever, that, because I think a lot of people think conspiracy theory means just outlandish theory, But what the crap, dude? Like, this is like, I'm tripping. I really am. I have never heard this. I was kind of hoping there was a little more. I already read the similarities of 9/11. Dude, that's insane. So, I don't know. Let me know, my listener. Did you know this? Or anybody else that happens to catch it? Did you? I'd never heard this before. But isn't this a little too coincidental to anybody? Like, man, Chris Carter. Like, who wrote the episode? God, written by Chris Carter, Vince Gilligan, John, whatever. See, I wish there was a little more detail on the background of it. Gosh, let me see. I'm gonna look up on IMDb, see what that has to say, because this is crazy. This is crazy. Because if, when this happened, other than the X-Files, I didn't really, what? I didn't start really getting into conspiracies. I mean, okay, yeah, I remember when the JFK film came out, and that kind of was like the first time I ever, I guess, entertained the idea and all that stuff. But, like, I don't know, man. Let me try this one more time. No, this ain't working. This is what happens. All right, I'm going to look up. This is crazy. I'm going to look up real quick just the writers and just kind of see. I mean, Chris Carter. I don't know. Dun dun. Early life. Surfing. Or is it, let's see. I don't know much about him. Yeah, I know he's always kind of done. He was into all that stuff and Twilight, UFOs, and all that stuff, obviously. But there's no way that 9/11 and this happened without one influencing the other. Like, I just don't, like, either one of these writers knew somebody that got wind of something and heard about it and was like, oh man, that'd be a good plot or something, and then wrote the story, or they wrote the story and then it inspired the government to do exactly that. But man, that just kind of seems a little, 6 months ago, there was a show that was watched by 13 million people. I don't know. I don't remember. You would think that at the time that this would have been, I would have heard about it. I remember 9/11. I think I talked about it before. It's on my way to work. I was listening to, always listen to like the radio just to get traffic input to see if I needed to, if there was an accident on any interstate that I had to drive and I would bypass it or whatever. That's basically why, I'd listen to any kind of whatever. And they were just all talking about this, the World Trade Building, this and that. And it was like every station. I was like, what? Something is going on. This is crazy. And I was just getting it, little, I don't know. Let's see. This would have been like 6 in the morning Central Time. So yeah, it wasn't too long after it happened. So they weren't really sure, and I was just like, what is going on? And so then I remember I called my dad. I was like, hey, turn on the news. Something's going on. I don't know what it is. And then I think by the time I got to work, they were listening, so it was a huge deal, right? Obviously. But I don't remember hearing anything about whatever. And it was just like, it wasn't long. So it happened in September. Within, a couple months, I was joining the Army, going through MEPS, had my date for January is when I started. You know what I mean? Like, it inspired me to join the military. The military was always kind of a possibility for me. It wasn't like I would never, like, ew, the military. And then when it happened, I was like, I'm going to do it. You know, it was always kind of there. But it was like the final nail in the coffin or whatever. But, I just never heard this. So, man, I wish there was a little bit more information. I was kind of hoping there was like a detailed plot of the episode. Oh, that's right. I was going to check out the other writers. Let me see. Just trying to see like who Breaking Bad better. Oh, okay. So he writes for like Breaking Bad, Early Life. I don't know. I'm trying to just see. Gunmen. I know I gotta I'm trying to like read and scan and then talk because this is a podcast. It's hard to do, yo. I don't know, I'm just trying to see if something stands out. I guess I could have done this before, but I don't know. Like I said, my listener, he likes it when I do it. Like, who's this guy? Oh, he does for Hell on Wheels too. Yeah, there's lots of good writers, man. I mean, they're currently working and writing good stuff. Maybe not stuff that I watch all the time, but stuff that I know is considered good. Okay, last guy. American television producer, X-Files, Lone Gunmen, Man in the High Cat. Yeah, see, people still... Dang it, man. So 13 million people watched it. Okay. Like I said, let's I want to look at this as objective as I can, right? So let's say this was a conspiracy by the government, okay? Let's just pretend that, I mean, it could even be that they knew about it. Maybe it was terrorists or something. Maybe, I don't know. But let's just say there was information out there that this was a possible plot, you know, because there are plots and ideas and plans and people that have been attempted or tried and whatever that have been thwarted. Did I say that right? By, you know, the FBI and stuff that we've never even heard of. So, I mean, could it have been somebody in a position had heard about it? You know, oh, there's, you know, talking with a friend, you know, hey, don't, you know, and it's just a friend, not like a reporter or not anything, but just, you know, just talking over some drinks and, you know, talking about their jobs. And he's like, man, dude, that's pretty cool what you do. And this and that. He's like, yeah, it's kind of crazy. You know, there's lots of this and that. You know, there was this person that thought it was a good idea to try and do this and that and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? That's crazy, man. Yeah, he got arrested, whatever, blah, blah, blah. He's like, what's the most crazy one? Like, well, supposedly, like, they heard there's the rumblings about, you know, hijacking a plane and crashing it in the World Trade Center. What? That's crazy. What would that accomplish? And, well, I mean, you know, it could be the business side, whatever. I don't know. You know, they just talk about it. And then that gets, you know, he talks to one other friend and this other friend. And that friend happens to know one of these writers. And they heard it. And they're like, man, that would be a cool plot to the show. To a show. And then that's kind of where they went from it, you know? Now, could that have happened? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking, I don't know, maybe, gosh, that's just kind of crazy. So let's say you're the government and this is completely planned. It is a conspiracy. This is our plan to get the people on board to get involved in the Middle East. If, you know, come to find out that this show comes out and they're like, what? Crap, this is exactly, you know, you would think that they would probably not do it, or maybe they thought it'd be so crazy. There's no way that people would think. So, we can't. We gotta let it. We gotta keep going. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, I'm trying to just look at. First, I'm just trying to see how it's possible. A show 6 months before 9/11, basically the same plot, would happen. I don't know. And I always say, like, I don't know. The government, you can't trust the government. I wouldn't be surprised if eventually it was like completely admitted that they, like it'd just be like, like I'm in more shock now. I'm more in shock about this show having the same plot than I would be if it was like, oh yeah, the government, they knew, and this blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? Because it wouldn't be the first time. Like supposedly Pearl Harbor. I never looked into Pearl Harbor, and I actually was going to record a podcast talking about that. And I mean, you had Japan involved in it. Japan to me seemed more, and a lot of people are like, man, they knew it was coming, and they again allowed it to happen because America didn't want to join the war, So, and then as soon as that happened, bam, everybody's on board. Everybody's joining the military. The exact same thing. Pearl Harbor and 9/11 are the exact same thing. And when 9/11, they knew it would work because of Pearl Harbor. Supposedly, I don't know. I haven't researched too much of it because again, I like to do it as I'm doing the podcast. For that one listener, what's up? But I don't know. Yeah, I was actually gonna do that a while ago, but then some crap came up. I'll still do it. But yeah, it's like, I don't know, man. Like, it's just kind of crazy. So, but at first I was like, dude, man, they knew. But now I'm kind of thinking like, if you think about it, I don't know. It's just the way the buildings went down. I'm not an engineer, but still, it seems like the top would have just kind of crumbled and fell over, and most of the building would have stayed up. The way it just kind of came down is very odd to me. Do I know for a fact that would not happen? No, I don't. But you've seen other things happen to other buildings and this and that, and I mean, look at Oklahoma. I mean, granted that was from the bottom, but it still stood up. It wasn't as tall. I don't know. It's just kind of crazy. And then Building 7, like what? That just, hold on. Like that just seems like, and then the Pentagon, where's the, all the kind of weird stuff. It looks like a rocket and all that kind of stuff. So it does kind of seem like, it just seems like, the rumblings were, true. And then maybe they just helped it and allowed it. And they were like, we need Building 7. Like Building 7 was the actual target. Building 7 was the target. But how, it wasn't that tall. So you can't get a plane to fly in it. So what do? We have a plane. Okay, hit the World Trade Center. That'd be easier. And then it comes crumbling down. And then when it crumbles down, it takes out, you know what I mean? And then that's how they kind of justify it. Like to me, that makes more sense than, because, they cleared, it was almost like filing for bankruptcy. You know what I mean? They cleared a bunch of debt, governmental, money and receipts and paper trails just gone because of it. They don't have to worry about it no more. And, plus then it got them to go and invade and make money from the war and get some more, all that crap. It's just, so that's kind of, that's kind of what I think with that. So, I mean, But it's just crazy to me that if that is the case, if that, you know, if that conspiracy idea where the government allowed it to happen and it was, you know, maybe not, the idea didn't come from us. Maybe that it was like they heard about it, you know, through whatever, and they're like, oh, okay. And they're like, oh man, you know what? If they actually did this, we could use that as a way to do this and that because it worked for Pearl Harbor, and then we can get rid of this and this, and everything's cool, and people are getting rich. If that's the case, I don't think. I mean, you know, things are not. You know, people didn't have wiretap bugs in their pockets back then, but still, I would think that the government would have heard about a show and they're like, dude, this is just like, you know what I mean? And they're like, man, we gotta tell them not to do this, or can we, or how do we? And I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe they thought, you know what? They could use that to be like it influenced the terrorists, but as the terrorists, okay, this is the other thing too about, you know, you have the buildings collapsing, you have building 7, and they're all just like, well, it doesn't seem right. But from a terrorist point of view, there's no way they knew. Like, let's say, oh, how can we do it? We can crash the planes. They wouldn't know that they would collapse and this and that, and you know, like, I don't know. To me, it just seems like, yeah, it's easier because they're up taller, and it, you know, yes, terrorism is fear. It's not necessarily taking out whatever, and it would cause. But I don't know. It just kind of seems like there'd be better ways to go about it if you're, you know, from a terrorist standpoint. You know, I don't know. Yes, I mean the definition of terrorism is to cause destruction, fear in people, and you know, doing that, crashing planes into the towers, whether they collapse or not, would cause a lot of fear in people. And but I don't know. It just doesn't seem like, other than that, how do they benefit? Like, they just don't really, I don't know. So that's why I kind of think it was, and I think a lot of people think it was, it's just crazy to me though, how the show, like that's insane to me. Does that help the conspiracy, or does that hurt it? You know what I mean? What do you think? Man, I don't know. I'm a little dumbfounded, I guess. It's I don't know what to think. It's crazy. I don't know. But I don't know. The crazy thing is I never heard of this either too. So anyway, but that's kind of it. I just wanted to talk about it. Let me know what you think. Did you know about this? Did you hear about this? What are your thoughts? Appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you next time. God bless. All right, bye.